Hello, welcome back to Level 1 News. I think today's the 7th. We forgot to look before we started recording.
It is the 7th.
It is the 7th. And we're doing business and security news.
So much business news. So much
Mostly
business
bad news, as usual.
News. Well, interesting news. I mean, how often do you sue your customers?
Arm sues Qualcomm, aiming to unwind Qualcomm's $1.4 billion Nuvia purchase.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what to make of this. Patrick from Serve the Home did a really good video on this. He actually has a legal background for things like this. But Qualcomm has a bunch of licenses already from ARM to do stuff. And Nuvia did as well. And so Qualcomm acquired Nuvia. And it seems like the big question is the stuff that Nuvia developed on top of ARM's IP capable of existing independently of that? Or does Nuvia not have say in stuff that they developed with regard to how the IP was licensed from ARM on which their IP was built? Is it components? Can you just Lego from A to B? Or does it sort of depend on the ecosystem? ARM's argument seems to be that
it's the cornerstone.
Yeah, that
the
hey,
foundation.
Because this is our intellectual property, we're basically a third party to this merger, deal, acquisition, or whatever. We weren't consulted, and Qualcomm's been negotiating with them apparently for the last year, at least according to the lawsuit, or 2 years, something like that. And they haven't been able to come to an agreement. So if Qualcomm's going to release a server product, a server CPU product, they may not have a license to use the ARM intellectual property and branding and some other stuff. Maybe not. I don't know. Seems like the courts are going to figure that out, or these folks are going to hurry to a settlement. But at the same time, ARM licenses their stuff to everybody. And there's also Ampere. Ampere, we're going to have another video about Ampere rolling out their ARM CPUs that are now available in Azure. So if you're Ampere and you're looking at this, you're thinking, ooh, yeah.
Am I in trouble?
Because what if Microsoft wanted to acquire Ampere because everything is so good? Amazon has Graviton. Amazon's not going to sell Graviton to third parties. But what if Microsoft wanted to acquire, Ampere? They would look at this and maybe say, well, that's going to probably be a conversation with ARM. Does ARM get a cut? So I think this is going to create a lot of really interesting side effects in the industry for a long, long time to come. It's also going to be really interesting to see what Qualcomm's response to this is. They haven't filed that yet.
The winners, as usual, are the lawyers.
Yeah. Oh boy, lawyers probably going to get 9 figures from this. Yeah, a lot of money over probably a 10-year period. We're probably still going to be talking about this lawsuit in 10 years from now. Oh, look at that.
Microsoft EU cloud revisions just so happen to exclude Google and Amazon.
So in the EU, Microsoft said, hey, if you don't want to use our cloud services and you want to roll your own with your own on-premise infrastructure or use our software or whatever, you totally can. That'll foster competition and innovation. And then somebody looked at the fine print and said, well, you won't let us use your tools in Amazon or Google.
Yeah, but they actually are big enough to compete with us. So also, my favorite comment on this article was, is this where server admins go when they go to heaven? What a picture.
Look at all this data.
Oh, it's beautiful. But hell on the backside, it's like all the cables are just everywhere.
Yeah, depending on which side of the aisle you're on, your responsibility is to fix all the spaghetti nightmare nonsense without somebody coming to yell at you that you took something down.
What an image.
Oh, fun times. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the EU as well, because I would say that Microsoft has been a little better about giving up some of its special sauce in the cloud than some of the other cloud providers, but ultimately it's not really going to matter. It's like, oh, Amazon has got their own AWS CLI and all the tools that go with that. No one's going to care because it's all reduced to such a commodity that it just ends up being, I need block storage, I need compute, I need database, I need low latency, whatever. And that's what you're buying, regardless of the command line or physical interface for it. And I think that EU legislation sort of misses the mark a little bit on talking about it in that infrastructure. The EU, if the EU really wants to do what they're trying to do here, they're going to have to reduce what Amazon and Microsoft and others are selling, in the cloud to just commodity services. So you can't sell San Marzano tomatoes. You just have tomatoes.
Can't be specifically branded.
Only San Marzano tomatoes can come from San Marzano. Only Azure brand. I don't know. I don't
But
know how
I've
that's going to
grown
work.
San Marzano in my garden.
Oh, don't say that out loud.
They are a
because
great variety. They are hard to find.
They'll hunt you down.
Kentucky grown.
Speaking of hunting you down, if it's Kentucky grown, you're not allowed to call it San Marzano.
Crypto.com sues woman after sending her 10 million by mistake report. It was actually 10.5.
The hilarious thing about this is that it took them a while to notice. It wasn't until an audit like a year or two later.
She bought a house.
She is not winning the lawsuit, however. The judge ordered her to sell the house and give the money back.
How could you not? How could you possibly win?
Could at least take the money and earn some interest on it for a while until they noticed.
I had that thought too. I was like, if she sold it for a profit, because how crazy the real estate market is, will they make her give the profits back too, or does she get to keep all of it?
Yeah. Speaking of just craziness.
Amazon facing unfavorable regulatory environment, struggles to expand in India.
Let's just talk about the subtle messaging here from TechCrunch. This is Jeff Bezos, and he's obviously participating in some kind of an event, but look how awkward. He's so awkward.
Yeah, I had the same thought when I looked at the image, and I was like, is this supposed to be like a cultural thing, or like he just...
Would Jeff Bezos be doing this if he didn't want the market?
No.
The answer is no. He doesn't. It's like, does Jeff Bezos have genuine respect for the cultural thing that he's participating in here? No,
not even a little.
just not even a little bit. Flipkart apparently is also doing really well. I love it when we do the stories that talk about Flipkart, because in the beginning we did some of the stories about Flipkart, and it talked about how they were just kind of a ragtag bunch of everything was held together with baling wire and duct tape. And it is able to challenge Amazon to the point that Amazon was like, we want to buy those. And in India, they were like, not so fast there, Lord Bezos.
You're not getting that. I don't know a whole lot about it, but like they kind of, like a Dollar General.
Yeah.
Kind of vibe.
Yeah. It's like, this is, if Flipkart had problems tomorrow, there would be a lot of people very, very upset.
Yeah.
So 85% of our customers in tier 2, tier 3 town cities shopping in India's largest selection across all this stuff, everyday essentials. We are humbled to be in the literal fabric of daily lives in India. This
kind of felt like the last part of it felt like a puff piece. But then if you read this, it says this story was updated with Amazon's approval, I think.
The response.
The response, yeah.
So it's really interesting.
Their response was a bunch of PR fluff.
I mean, this is all interesting for a lot of reasons, but it's like coming from yay capitalism part of the world. It is really interesting to watch how an organization like Amazon assimilates something that is not quite the same capitalism that we have, and how they assimilate that and sort of bring all that together. It's really, it doesn't seem like it's the best for the people over there, which is...
Is it really the best for the people here to have Amazon control everything, or Walmart?
Yeah, but the way it happened here, it's harder to be, it's easier to sort of see a pattern from the outside. And then you think about here and it's like, oh,
they put all the little businesses out of business, and now we have to go to Amazon or Walmart.
Not only, it's like they put them out of business, but also we lost the knowledge.
Yeah.
We forgot how to do that. We forgot how to grow tomatoes.
Yeah, or repair our own stuff, or, because all those shops went out.
There was a reason he put that combination TY in. I don't know why he did that. It's bugging me. Or maybe it was just a mistake.
When did you discover that? You've been gone like all week.
No, that was the disaster before I left, because it was like the cast iron was finally giving out, and it's like, do I go ahead and replace this, or do I, just wrap this up in some pipe stuff and worry
just
about
hope it's okay? Yeah. This is a problem for future, Wendell.
Yeah. So
I said that about the dishes last night. This is a problem for future, Krista.
Speaking of a problem that's now a problem for future everybody.
SmartDry's useful laundry sensor to be cloud bricked next month.
I have a Samsung dryer, and it has the sensor in it, and it is garbage.
It is Internet of Things related. If it's connected to the internet, they can brick it whenever.
So this was cool. You put this thing in a pocket of a pair of pants or something, and it would tell you when your stuff was dry, and it worked great. And it would get on your Wi-Fi. The problem is that it would have to talk to a server on the cloud. It couldn't just tell you, and the server in the cloud is going away. Fortunately, people have figured out how to modify it. You can use it with Home Assistant. If you have one of these and you do that, post some pictures to the Level 1 forum. I'll plug it and we'll take a look at it and that kind of thing. You can reprogram it with an ESP32. But people really liked this because it was so much better than their built-in dryer sensor in their dryer. And I can definitely say that the Samsung dryer that I have, the dry sensor, it's trash. The clothes can be dripping wet, or they can be paper dry, and
there's no discernible way.
Yeah, it's just random. It's completely random.
See, I've got a dumb dryer. We got like the stupidest rock dumb simple dryer we could get, so we have to check it manually.
Yeah, and it's really annoying to do because it's like, oh, that burning smell means the clothes are dry. It's like,
what?
Because they get super dry, and it's like if you do timed, so it's like it'll probably take about an hour to dry these, and for whatever reason it only takes 40 minutes. Your clothes are just baking for 20 minutes, and so
I've not had that experience.
You open it up and it's like, oh, everything's dry. Yeah, the Samsung, it's timed or auto dry. So usually you use auto dry, and then you see how terrible they are, and then you get them all the way dry in increments of 10 minutes.
10 minutes, yeah. It's like, oh, it's just a little bit damp. Yeah, I have had that experience. When it's like I want to wear a certain shirt, and I'll tumble dry it real quick.
But sometimes I'm lazy, and it's like, let's just set it for an hour, and I'll check on it every 10 minutes. And then I don't check on it every 10 minutes. And then it's like, ooh, that didn't turn out good. So, yeah, Internet of Things. Thanks.
Once again.
So bad. All this should have been sorted with the other stories, but that's okay.
Intel, who coined the term patent troll, makes deal with patent troll to monetize unused patents. Did I read this right, that they set up like a little corporation just to...
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, they set up... it's like, we're going to monetize these unused patents by trolling other companies.
They made a company just to hold them, right? Like, that was kind of the gist.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is really scummy.
Yeah. It's it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. This story is a little preemptive. Maybe it won't be used as terribly as it is, but at the same time, what was this? Tech Dirt is sort of putting them on notice to say, hey,
we noticed.
We're paying attention to what you're doing. Don't troll.
And we know the name of the company.
Yeah, it's like, are you going to troll other companies that are making products to compete with yours? Because it's not, you're not always the clear winner in some cases. And that's where I was last week.
AMD launches Zen 4 Ryzen 7000 CPUs, arrives September 27th, starting at $299.
Yep. So they announced 4 different CPUs. I did a live stream after that. You can go check that out and learn more. I know a lot more now, but we'll talk about that a little closer to launch. Actual launch. Some stuff. Exciting times. But yeah, new CPUs, new 16 core, $700, all the way down to the 6 core at $300. Some people are already freaking out. It's like, there's already really good CPUs right now available today that cost less than $300. Shouldn't this be less? And it's like, I don't know. We'll have to look at it and see. It'll be interesting. A lot of stuff going on.
You're an influencer. You're the Gen Z influencer. Gen Z people look at you and they're like, I want to be him.
No, please, no.
I don't think our audience has a lot of Gen Z. We skew a little older.
I don't think our audience has a lot of Gen Z, and if they've been paying attention, they know they should definitely not do that. They've made horrible life choices.
If you just do solely influencing, yes.
You share your passion for things, but don't let your passion for things be your only passion. That's the paradox. And then you don't have time for other things.
Well, your only monetary gain be your passion, because then you'll learn to hate it.
Have you had enough technology? No, I want more. You know what people have had enough of, though?
Yeah, trading volume on top NFT marketplace OpenSea down 99% in USD from May peak. That is an obscene drop.
You dig into this a little bit, and this is trading volume by dollar amount, not trading volume by number of transactions. The number of transactions was still surprisingly high. It's not 99%. It is way down. But in terms of like the value of those transactions, yes, they are 99% loss in value, because some of those Bored Apes were like $200,000-$300,000.
I'll never understand NFTs. Maybe that makes me old, but...
Engagement challenge. Did Seth Rogen ever get his stolen Bored Ape back? Is that a thing? Wasn't he working on a TV show with that?
Oh, yeah. We should
check on that.
Yeah, so we should do an update on that if he has.
And then, while Intel and AMD are duking it out, other things are happening elsewhere in the industry.
Microsoft launches Arm-based Azure VMs powered by Ampere chips.
So this is ARM. You can get ARM stuff. Windows 11 Pro and Linux, of course. But Windows 11 Pro on Ampere ARM? What? What? If this is really good, then Microsoft could save a bunch of money. But, it doesn't mean that ARM is going to be completely taking over Azure overnight. But like Graviton instances in Amazon, it may be, low cost, high value for certain kinds of workloads.
Every time you say Graviton, I think of Zarya's ult from Overwatch. Like, wait, what?
Graviton is what Amazon called their special sauce ARM CPU, and those are, it looks. I don't know this. I don't have any insider knowledge, but it looks to me like Amazon used Graviton for years internally for the services that you bought from Amazon, but you didn't need to know what CPU was running on. It was just like the service. And then they got, they sort of worked the bugs out. And then they had the second version of Graviton. That's the one they announced. And then actually we're on like Graviton version 3 now, which might actually be the fourth version, maybe the fourth or fifth version of Graviton. And this third version is really good. It is shockingly good. It's really cheap, but very fast. And so it definitely seems like Amazon wants you to buy, new compute or database instances that are based on their ARM CPU. So this could be a real threat to both AMD and Intel, depending on what kind of workloads you want to run. Because, some of that's trading. And if you want to run this kind of workload, it's better to have the facilities of x86. If you want to run this kind of workload, maybe ARM is better per watt. Depends on what you want to optimize for. But I did think that this is interesting that now all of the major providers, and this is kind of a footnote in the article, but I'll call it out, Tencent Cloud, JD Cloud, and UCloud ARM-based VMs. So basically everybody is getting in on the ARM game. I don't know. It could be interesting. Speaking of people getting in on games,
Sony's new PlayStation Studios mobile team is making spin-off games for your phone. I wasn't that excited about this, but it was some pretty big games, I think.
Let's bring in Sony's new PlayStation Studio mobile team to make a mobile version of the next PUBG.
I don't know. Not really mobile gaming, but
this is Sony. Sony wants more mobile games. I think that
probably because they can pack them with microtransactions easier.
Yeah. It's like Uncharted, Legacy of Thieves, and Marvel Spider-Man.
I was like, those are pretty big names, I guess. Like,
Genshin
I don't
Impact.
play them. But...
Oh yeah, PUBG Mobile and Pokemon Go. Yeah. So I think that mobile games, especially with like augmented reality stuff, where you can hold up your phone and you see through your phone's camera.
The siren. They usually can't hear the siren. We had an ambulance go by last week, and everyone was like, "Oh, I didn't really hear it that well."
Well, that's good.
Apparently, these are hyper-directional. So
yeah, super directional ASMR. Oh my gosh. No. The whole mobile game thing. The innovation is going to come from games we haven't imagined yet. Like Pokemon Go, for what it was really innovational because it sort of reimagined what you could do with your phone. So porting, other kinds of games to your phone is like trying to get, traditional games to run on like the Wii or the one with the motion sensor.
A game that was designed for a very specific use case and platform, and then just like, what if I just shrunk it? And it's like, well, it's not gonna.
Yeah.
It might work, but it's not gonna be the same experience usually.
Yeah. So if Sony's mobile team was more like, we're gonna help you adapt the Spider-Man IP into a new game.
Yeah.
That makes sense, then okay, maybe.
That's the thing, though. It's like no one wants to take a chance on something new. Even if they have like an established IP, they could make a new Spider-Man game for mobile.
A Lord of the Rings game where you hunt the ring.
Oh. That's where we're going. Marvel Cinematic Universe for Lord of the Rings. I hate it.
I can't wait for the Super Smash Brothers where you can play as not Galron. That's Star Trek.
That's coming for you too. The Marvel Cinematic Universe, but Star Trek.
Oh no!
Mobile games, but Star Trek. That actually already exists.
You know who's not getting the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Dell ceases all Russian operations after August office closure.
This article gets into it a little bit, but it's not just it's like, oh, you can't buy Dell computers, blah blah blah. It turns out that a lot of these companies had Russian offices that were doing some kind of productivity, like software, building a dashboard, that kind of thing. And so this exodus from Russia is affecting a lot of companies more than just sales, more than just their integration, because there was a workforce there doing advanced work or doing programming or doing, advanced analysis or things other than sales. And that's all gone now, basically. And it's not easy, a lot of that knowledge was siloed. So it's not like we can just, have the Colorado team take over what the Moscow team was doing.
Yeah, it's a kind of a big difference, I assume.
Yeah. Speaking of that kind of frustration.
Google employees frustrated after office pandemic outbreaks. Some call to modify vaccine policy.
So some people at Google are unvaxxed, and they're saying, well, look at all the people that are back in the office. If you come back to the office, you have to be vaxxed. They're still getting it.
Yeah.
So maybe we just do away with that and it doesn't matter. Like, can we do that, please?
How about just not go to the office? Like, if you don't need to be in the office.
Yeah, that never seems to be an option, does it?
Yeah, it's like just don't go in. Especially if you're not feeling well. Just don't go in.
Let's just
work from home.
Not go to the office. Or just go to the office very sparingly, as needed.
Yeah.
But all these companies, no, we have the fancy offices with the real estate. We really need to get everybody in.
Yeah, we can't afford to keep these offices if we don't have everybody coming in.
Yeah.
And they can't sell it, probably, because it's so hyper specific for that company.
Yeah, sort of horrifying. This was also kind of horrifying, but maybe it's a good news.
India railway firm scraps plan to monetize customer data following an uproar.
So, okay, the last 6 weeks, 7 weeks, we've done all kinds of stories where people in India don't really understand what's happening with big technology companies and big data, but they sort of recognize, oh, we've made some missteps here. We need to block this or do that. And so there's a lot of things that are going on that are knee-jerk reactions. But I got to say, this one I think is probably pretty good. The railway firm was going to sell a bunch of people's data, and they looked at it and they said, wait a minute, you're blocking Google and Amazon and Apple from doing the same kind of thing, but we have a domestic company that's going to be permitted to do this?
That doesn't make it better, just because it's a domestic company.
And so they've backed away from doing this, which is good, but because there was a lot of people that use the railway system, and when you use the railway system, and are you going first class, or are you going, presumably all that data was going to have
your first and last name, like where you're traveling from.
Yeah. The company, I think there was a memo or something from the company that they expected to make 100 million. I don't know if that was local currency or US dollars. 125 million US dollars. The plan, had it been approved, would have helped the firm increase revenue by more than $125 million. It's
a lot of money.
Your data is worth a lot of money that will never benefit you directly, which is just sad.
Oh, this is a story. I thought this was in another section, but yeah, this is the story we kind of mentioned last episode.
Yeah, remember how California was talking about its electricity shortages and please don't plug in your electric car? But, imagine a world where your electric car refuses to charge even if you plug it in. Oh, wait.
Thousands of Xcel customers locked out of thermostats during energy emergency. We've seen this story before, I think, in Texas as well.
We even have a similar program like this here, where if you sign up with your power company, they put a thing in your power meter and a thing inside your house. It's actually not even inside your house. It's on the heat pump. And so the fan will run. You can turn the fan on, but they control whether or not the heat pump actually kicks on or off. And during peak load, the power company can send a signal that will prevent your heat pump from coming on. And most people don't realize that their air conditioner is not working because it'll still let it come on. Sometimes it'll circulate the air. But this is a more advanced version of that, where the power company actually provides a smart thermostat, but the smart thermostat is saying, no, you can't, your house is just going to run at 87 degrees and you're just going to have to deal with it.
You're just going to suffer. Yeah, I think it was set to 78, but I think some people mentioned that their houses got up to like 85, 88.
Yeah. And then a lot of people were saying, I didn't read the fine print and it didn't say that. But there's a picture of it
here. They can do it, though, because you signed up for that program.
Temperature blocked temporarily during energy emergency. Why is there an energy emergency? Because they didn't upgrade the infrastructure.
I feel like it's just getting worse. Like, they keep doing these Band-Aid solutions, but they're not actually upgrading things that they should.
At some point, somebody recognized that we needed an interstate highway system, and they built the interstate highway system. There was a lot of teeth gnashing at the time. There still is. But I think looking
It's so
back,
useful, though.
yeah, looking back, it's like that was probably the right move.
That was absolutely the right move.
I think we're going to have to do something like that with the power grid, looking at the disaster that is California and or Texas.
I mean, here too. Every time it's a little breezy, our power either flickers or goes out.
Yeah, and it's not like the feds haven't already subsidized a lot of that.
Yeah.
But I digress.
LG's first bendable OLED TV lets you pick between flat or curved models. I had a stroke halfway through reading that. Blech.
It literally is a TV that is bendable. So
Who is that for?
some people really like curved monitors.
But why would you not just buy it curved prematurely? Like, why do you need to curve it yourself?
The only use case that I could see for this is if you have kind of a big monitor, and sometimes you want to sit close to it, and sometimes you want to sit far away from it. So if I want to watch TV, I can be far away. But if I want to play a video game, I want to be close up. If I'm close up, curved makes sense. I could see that. And if I'm far away, I don't like curved. I don't want curved far away. So maybe if you have an apartment and your monitor is doing double duty as...
So you've a van life dweller, you've got your gaming rig in your van.
Yeah. It's like, okay, I'm sitting right at my computer, probably should be curved. Now I'm, relaxing in the back of the van, no curve. Okay, maybe.
Maybe. I do feel like that's a very niche segment, though. Why put the energy into this?
It may also be cheaper to manufacture. So you just have one production line. Let's
that's
just
probably
make
the real
one
reason.
TV, and then there we go.
Can you imagine, though, like you pull it out of the box and it's like, oh, it bent on one side, and like people immediately getting upset because they don't understand.
Oh, yeah. People don't understand anything. It's crazy.
It probably says foldable on the box, but they just bought the TV.
This also really surprised me, and then I sort of missed the part where they said it was Norway, and then I got to the end and I was like, Norway, wow, okay.
Yeah, this is strange. Angry Tesla owners go on hunger strike over quality problems.
I love this picture.
This is a great photo. I wonder if they did this like for the article or if it was a stock image.
This is the angry owners. So a bunch of people in Norway have Teslas and they're dissatisfied.
So they've mentioned a few things that we've heard before about, like, it's not waterproof, the interior glue comes undone, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of problems with the cars. So these people wanted to get Elon Musk's attention, so they're on a hunger strike, which, considering who Elon Musk is, I don't think he's the most empathetic individual. I don't know that he'll care.
I really don't think he'll care.
No, not even a little.
Why? Why must this? Why?
It seems like, maybe talking to quality, like calling the company seems like it would be better than talking to Musk. But
is there a consumer protection division? Can we get that done? Also, this was kind of a rare thing. There was you guys probably covered it last week, the week before. There was a really important Apple security update, but older devices don't really get very many updates. Except this time,
Apple releases rare iOS 12 update to address security flaw on older iPhones and iPads.
This goes all the way back to the iPhone 5.
That's a long time ago.
That was a very long time ago. Because if you went to the wrong web page, somebody could take over your iPhone remotely. That's impressive.
That is impressive.
That's like $1 million bug.
Whoever found it probably didn't get paid peanuts.
So update your Apple device, because this is your once and forever update.
We probably have some old iPhones that are just sitting that we use for testing that probably need that.
Speaking of things that were a little surprising.
Court orders Telegram to disclose personal details of pirating users.
So if you use Telegram and you have a private Telegram network, it's sort of come to the attention of some copyright holders that there's rampant piracy in India. It's like, does anybody have the latest episode of
Hot D?
Of Hot D.
Hot D. That's House of the Dragon. I love that the abbreviation is Hot D.
So, the High Court in Delhi ordered Telegram to share the personal details of copyright infringing users with right holders. It's not enough that they remove the channels. We got to find the individuals. Okay.
Yeah.
Do we, though?
Maybe people are tired of having to pay for 20 streaming services. It can't be the consumer who's wrong.
we will extract our pound of flesh.
Yeah.
Maybe if we had a more secure platform for keeping track of passwords, we could have better end-to-end security.
Dashlane is ready to replace all your passwords with passkeys.
This feels like a paid ad.
I also read this and I was like, is this even a story or is this just an advertisement?
They're not wrong. This is basically, this is kind of a forced password manager with actually secure passwords, but also the password manager has a cloud sync capability. It's actually not as terrible as that sounds. There is actually a standard called WebAuthn, which will connect directly to a token that you have saved. But, even if you're using something like this with two-factor, a lot of the time, once you get the session token can be stolen, and there's not really a lot of checks on the session token, such as like IP or region that you're coming from. So the new hotness is for criminals to get you to two-factor and log in. Then they just steal your session cookie. So,
it's just a constant, every time you think you get something right.
This is absolutely better than a password, but I don't know why. I don't know if it was paid media or if people are, ready to be done with passwords. But this is a story that was literally everywhere. And so I was like, okay, we'll cover it.
It probably was a paid ad.
Probably.
That's how I feel about anything anymore. I'm like, is this actually real or was someone just paid for this?
Google Play to ban Android VPN apps from interfering with I don't even know why I did that.
You read it? That's fine. Google Play to ban Android VPN apps from interfering with ads. Speaking of advertisements.
So DuckDuckGo does this. And I was like, oh, this is going to affect DuckDuckGo. But the person who wrote this article said DuckDuckGo is probably going to be affected by this. So they reached out to DuckDuckGo. And DuckDuckGo said their VPN product, they don't expect it to be affected. So this might be just VPN products that scrape your data and prevent Google from scraping your data. So imagine a VPN product that will take links to products and replace the links to products with affiliate links to products that are their affiliate code. There's a lot of reasons you can't do that, like with SSL and some other stuff, but that is the kind of thing that Google is trying to protect against, according to this. And DuckDuckGo kind of agrees with them, but the original author for the register said that legit apps could also be affected by this if they interfere with advertising. That's one of the things that's going on here. Google seems to be trying to craft this so that you can't have an ad blocker on Android, and you can't mess with applications telemetry from users, and you can't mess with apps that depend on ads for revenue. But the reality is maybe something a little different. I don't know. That was my takeaway anyway.
Yeah. I just hate ads.
It's a lot to unpack that, though, to explain. It's like, well, we don't want to block VPNs. And VPNs, if a user wants to, a VPN that blocks ads, that probably should be okay because ads are often abused. But where do you draw the line? Like
but we still really, really need advertiser money, so...
Yeah. And so Google, I think, is always going to draw that line on the other side of, it's like, well, we'll still get ads, or we'll still get the telemetry, or we'll still get whatever. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe DuckDuckGo is right, but we'll see. We'll see. Oh, this one is kind of sad because I don't really have anything against this particular crypto organization, but then at the same time, it's like, well, this always happens.
It does. Solana-based DeFi protocol OptiFi loses $661,000 in programming blunder.
They accidentally closed the contract. They created a situation where something wasn't right, and they forced it through, and that closed the contract, which locked away $661,000 in USDC. Oops. So they're going to try to make it a little harder to do that again. And I think 95% of the total value locked is from one of its team members, meaning that customer assets may equate to only $33,000. So,
oof.
It's, we did it to ourselves. They shot themselves in the foot mostly. One person may have lost $33,000, but mostly it was the internal team. So, could be worse.
Still not great.
Still not great. This is also a fun story. So this switching gears a little bit. I like this story for a lot of reasons.
Google's open source bug bounty aims to clamp down on supply chain attacks.
So this is Google saying we depend a lot on open source, and some of these projects are, a library or something that doesn't really, it's very mature, and so it doesn't get a lot of movement every year, but that doesn't mean it can't have problems. If we all depend on something, that
we should be auditing it.
Yeah, we should be auditing it, and maybe, because we use the crap out of open source, if we use it, we're willing to
pay a bug bounty.
Pay a bug bounty,
even though it's not technically ours.
Yeah, so this is nice. I'm hard pressed to find a downside here. Engagement challenge.
It's surprising. I'm sure if Ryan was here, he'd find a way to spin it so it's dark. But
it'll pay anywhere from $101 to $31,000 for information about bugs in projects like Angular, Golang, and Fuchsia, or for vulnerabilities in third-party apps that are included with those projects' code bases. So, Fuchsia is Google's replacement for Android, eventual replacement for Android. And, Go is Google's language. But Angular doesn't really have much to do with Google at all. They just use the crap out of it. So it's nice that they're including those kinds of things. And they talk about solar winds and some of the other stuff that can be negatively impacted by that. So this seems good, but if there's a downside I'm missing here, engagement challenge, let me know.
Yeah.
And this one's just straight up fraud.
Wally World lists a 30 terabyte portable SSD for $39. It is naturally a scam.
It will fool you into thinking it's 30 terabytes. It's so slow that by the time you encounter a problem, I think the article that I saw, that when they tested it, it was 64 gigabytes. But even with 64 gigabytes, testing it would have taken like 2 days before you hit the end of it. So with the 30 terabyte drive, no matter where you choose to write the information, up to the first 32 or 64 gigabytes or whatever, it'll be able to retain the information. But when you hit that limit, then it wraps around to the beginning. And so the things that you wrote to it 30 terabytes ago won't be there anymore. But 30 gigabytes. So it's like it's 1,000 to 1 compression, except that when it's compressed, it's gone forever.
Who had discovered that?
I think it was just obvious. I saw a security researcher say this is obviously a scam and ordered it, and then they were able to show how
exactly what happened. Yeah.
So, and it totally was. It was 100% a scam. It works. It's just that
to a point.
Even though it's really slow. Oh yeah, Ray redacted. Yeah, there's a tweet here. It's like it'll work to a point, and then once you cross that point, it's like, this is just explaining, how the scam works. But yeah, basically the whole thing was a scam.
Rip.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, hot glue.
Yeah, that's a rough image. Can you flip to that?
It's like, oh, look at that. It's just 2 micro SD cards.
It looks like a toaster strudel. They just put some frosting in there.
Yeah, when it's full, then you're basically done. I don't know if it was this one or the one that I saw was only even USB 2.0. So that was part of the scam, was like just make it so slow that by the time somebody so much time would have passed, no one is going to bother checking it to that extent. Speaking of things that no one's going to bother with,
Web3 domain name service could lose its web address because programmer who can renew sits in jail.
ETH.link expired on July 26th and will be up for grabs on September 5th.
Ooh, so by the time you guys see this, yeah.
What happened? Engagement challenge.
We're recording this in the past.
Oh, my goodness. This one was also fun.
Oh, yeah. 8-year study shows the dark side of WordPress plugins.
So it turns out when you have people that don't have any idea what they're doing building WordPress websites, and they're just like, look at this thing that I found it online, there's a backdoor.
Almost always. Or they're just not maintained, or they go to a pay model, and then your client's angry because they're like, no, I have to pay for this? And it's like, well, that's WordPress.
Definitely have encountered the situation where there's a plugin, and it's like, okay, we paid for the plugin. There was nothing about a subscription or anything like that. It's like a one-time thing. And then a year later, the plugin has mysteriously updated itself, and now it's subscription only, and it also doesn't work.
And that's why we don't do WordPress sites anymore. We don't even maintain them for people anymore.
Yeah, it's just, and people have no idea. And then it's when you bring them the bad news, it's like, oh, it's your fault. And it's like, no.
No, you had this developed by someone else, and we agreed to maintain it for you, and now we shouldn't have.
Yeah, and it's such a dumpster fire. It really is.
Yeah, it's never worth the hassle.
And a lot, sometimes too that happens with a popular plugin. Like a popular plugin will be purchased by somebody else, and then somebody else does something to it. It's like, okay, fine.
The new owner of the plugin.
You need a way to monetize this, but it's usually not so bad for WordPress.org proper things. But a lot of I bought this theme on this theme pay for website. Everything will be fine for a year or two, and then things get sketchy, and then things get really sketchy. So. Somebody studied that and found, oh yeah, that's basically how it is.
Yep. They just confirmed it with more sciencey language than what we're using.
According to the paper, over 440,000 plugins in their dataset were shown to have been infected after they were deployed. The team found that the malware would attack other plugins on the site to spread the infection. Yup.
We hates it, Precious. We hates it. Had many afternoons stolen because of WordPress problems.
There was also this. If you use LastPass, you may have seen that LastPass has had a security breach. You as a user of LastPass, it's not bad, at least not yet.
That we know of. LastPass hackers stole source code.
So they were able to get access to some internal LastPass systems, not the place where people store their passwords, but the software on which it is built. So now hackers may be able to find vulnerabilities in it and use that to create some issues. But we don't know yet.
We probably will be doing a follow-up story this week.
Yeah, or the week after, or
whenever it comes out.
The one after that. So fun times. Also, remember, it wasn't last week, it was the week before. We were covering that, the web extension that TikTok uses. When you click a link in TikTok and it opens up in a web browser, it logs everything, including your password and stuff that you do. And they were like, no, there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's
something kind of wrong with it.
Yeah, it turns out.
Microsoft finds TikTok vulnerability that allowed one-click account compromises.
So if you can trick somebody into clicking something, you can weaponize the fact that that happens and use it to steal their account.
Ooh.
Oh, boy. The flaw resided in the app's deep link verification process.
Another reason to not use TikTok. Though we are on TikTok, if you're into that. For all 5% of our Gen Z viewers, we have a TikTok now. Our social media person manages it.
Yeah, it's not even on any of our phones. It's on
yeah, we've got a phone just for social stuff. That's not tied to anybody in the office because we're that paranoid.
Because why would we? This has been fixed, so that's totally okay. And the thing that we always talk about, normies are finally starting to notice.
Tech tool offers police mass surveillance on a budget. So that's what you want to hear about your surveillance technology. It was budget.
This is apnews.com. And so this is, it's like, oh, look at this. Fog Data Science LLC. And it's like, oh, we can just gather all this data from commercial databases. And because it's from a commercial database, the constitutional protections don't apply. This is not just happening in America. This is happening everywhere. Even Europe, even with all of the European data protection on citizens and this kind of thing.
Well, so we did that story about, China lost a bunch of people's information, but it wasn't technically the Chinese government. It was their subcontractor.
Yeah.
So that way they can, probably just fire the subcontractor and then do the same thing again.
This is a pretty good article. It's kind of long, but it's a pretty good article that you can share with anybody who says, anybody who's not worried about these kinds of things or not on their radar. A lot of the time we get comments that are, how can I share this with my parents, or how can I explain this to somebody in a way that'll help them understand? This is one of those articles. You can send them, and it's pretty much all wrapped up there, but it talks about how because all of our devices and all of our software and all of this stuff are collecting data for years and years and years and years
constantly
at a time, you can get into explain why you were here at this place 2 years ago. I was like, I don't know. I was like, well, there was a robbery and it's a cold case and your phone was one of 4 that were there, so you have to know something. And
it's like, well, dude, I was just getting a coffee. I don't know what was going on that day.
Or people show up at your house and take all your computers and your phones and everything, and they don't even tell you why. And then later it's like, oh, well, you took a picture of your son to send to your doctor. And it's like,
oh yeah, that was a terrible story last week.
Why?
Show that, yeah. If your parents are asking why that's a bad thing, send them that doctor story about the parent who took a picture of his kid on the doctor's request and got flagged.
Yeah, Google definitely needs to look into all that.
Yeah. You're not going to do it.
Not so much. Oh, and then there's this.
Most top mobile carriers retain geolocation data for 2 years on average, FCC findings show.
Yeah, so everywhere you go, you're the person you buy your cell phone from is storing that information on top of Google and third-party advertisers and apps that you use and everybody else. And so you read this in the context of all the other stuff that we show you. It's not a great situation. It's like you have
no privacy.
Yeah, and it can only hurt you. There's never a case where any of this would ever help you. It only serves to hurt you in any kind of a situation that you might find yourself in where this data is relevant.
Only maybe if you're lost hiking they can use your cell phone data to figure out where you are, but
Yeah.
that's pretty much the only one.
They know who you are. They know who you call. They know where you are at all times. It's like, oh, the FCC is taking steps to ensure this data is protected. I don't agree with that. The fact that this exists means that it's unprotectable. The only winning move is not to play.
But I like having the internet on my phone.
You can have internet on your phone without having to give all that up. It's just that we're really stupid.
Not in the society we currently live in. It's not possible, unfortunately.
All right, what do we got for Friday? We got a lot of nonsense.
It's a robot
Robot
space nonsense. We will see you guys then. Bye.